So, Aaron, what was it like having people following you everywhere and kind of focusing on...
It's not even people. It's just having your best friend with a camera in your face.
Right.
You know, and I have a very open relationship with Randy because we're best friends. So it's, you know, I cringe watching it sometimes to see myself so vulnerable, you know, so large, at such a large scale, sharing things that at the time I didn't think would reach so many people. But the response back has just been tremendous.
What did you learn about yourself and the whole issue of effeminacy and kind of like, because it had to force you to start thinking about stuff you weren't even maybe thinking about that much?
I think also just, you know, I grew up in a very small town, and when I posed the question, how gay do you want to be today, which is something that I ask myself every day looking in the mirror, which is in the initial footage from 5 years ago, I think it was also me sort of figuring out, like, how safe do I want to be today?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like how confident do I want to be today? Like all of these emotions that, you know, to psych myself up, to face the day, to face the stairs.
Like today, I feel like I can put this on and just like screw the world and let them screw with me. And then another day, you're like really vulnerable. You're like, I
Some
just
days I
wanna
just
hide.
can't do it. Other days I want to put on my knee-high boots and I want to rock it. And I live in Bushwick, which is like hipster ghetto. So it's like, you know, I got called faggot last week. Mm-hmm. I constantly get called faggot. So even being a part of this series has changed my perception of the word, and the power that I used to give it, I no longer give it anymore.
How do you feel being called faggot, but yet embracing the word faggot?
Well,
I mean, or is that the way you deal with it?
That's the way I deal with it. And you know, it's not for everyone, but I choose not to give that word power anymore in my life.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a badge of honor too, though. I think, you know, when you get called a faggot, it's often the gay men, and because it's about gay men specifically right now, I think it's the gay men or queer men who are showing resilience in a way, who are sort of showing, you know what, I'm not going with that gender norm, or I'm not going with this sort of, you know, assumption that I'm going to be like everyone else. I'm stepping outside the box in some way. I think, you know, Timur you have a really unique perspective too, being in DC, which is such a specific world, and then being basically, you know, the big queen in the city.
Yeah. Well, the ironic thing is that I'm actually from D.C., and D.C., as you know, is it's like the gay scene, at least, is very homogenized. Everyone's sort of an opportunist a little bit, very educated. They all sort of want to look like each other and act like each other. And then there's me, who's like, right now I'm very toned down, just wearing, you know, a little military coat and knee-high boots. But normally it's not very much like that. And I'm actually from D.C., and it's the thing that I've learned the most, though, about being a part of the show and then walking around DC and being so different is that I don't care. Like, that's what I learned from seeing myself on screen and from just being with my fabulous castmates. I've learned a lot, and I don't give a damn. Like, you can say what you want to me about anything, and unless it's productive or respectful or something, and it could be talking about food, you could be talking about my appearance, I don't care. But that's the attitude I have now, is just like, I'm not going to let anything bother me.
And the film talks about D.C. as like just kind of that button-down place. But it's interesting
but
how...
it's a party place, too.
Yeah.
They go crazy at night.
And how...
We have our fun.
How effeminacy is kind of both celebrated and also reviled in the gay community.
And I think it's celebrated in specific spaces at specific times.
Oh, down there it's frustrating, because I go to Chicago for our launch and I come here all the time, and it's like I can walk around in heels and leggings and have a beard, and I'm pseudo-normal, or I blend in, or no one, you know, sheds a tear or turns a feather, whatever that expression is. But then it's like, whatever, I'm sorry. But in D.C., it's like if I go out wearing like a bright colored tank top, I get looks and gawked at, and it's so funny.
But it's great to scandalize, isn't it?
Oh, I love
if you're in the mood.
Oh, no,
he's often in the mood.
I push the limits for our own little 50-faggot community, too. I like to push buttons.
What do you hope to send as a message to people who are going to be watching? I mean, you said that the audience you see as gay men, and certainly they need an education around the whole issue of effeminacy.
And I think it just larger identities, too. I mean, 50 Faggots has a lot of mission statements and bulletins behind it, but I think one of those certainly is the fact that it's looking at multiple identities. You know, there's very few reality series out there, and I wouldn't even call this... It's definitely not it's not reality television, because it's based online. It's 50faggots.com that you can go to. You know, but I think that it's a series that I think is really merging, having multiple identities, being necessarily like a multiracial queer person, or, being someone who comes from a lower income family, or being someone who, is a drag queen, but also, a web designer, right? These are things that sort of we don't hear. We're always kind of placed at like sort of a surface value. And so 50 Faggots is really pushing past that. And the fact that it has over 2.5 years of following these men means that you really get to see them grow. You get to see them have like life lessons that naturally happen that you don't get when you show up and you film something for 2 weeks. So I think there's a lot of value to that, and the audience is certainly recognizing that. And so we're so happy to be here and to be going to Mix, and you can actually see it tonight. We're at 10 p.m. We're doing the screening. It's 155 First Avenue. So I think that there's
in New York City.
In New York City,
people are listening all across the country.
Oh, right.
That's why we got to push it on the web.
Yeah, there you go.
50faggots.com. Also, what I'm always fascinated about too around the issue of masculinity, femininity, or effeminacy in the gay community is, who gay men see, or who most gay people think of as a sexual object choice, because that's really what it's about. Everybody wants that masculine macho guy, but that's not really true. And you can really reign supreme as a queen, right?
Yeah.
I'll let my
We're a
cast
very
speak to
special
that.
breed.
Well, there's nothing sexier than someone who loves themselves, and that's where it starts.
Oh, come on, every gay man loves himself.
No, not every
That's
gay
true.
man
No,
loves
not
himself.
every gay
Not every
man.
gay man
No,
loves
no,
himself.
But then you have people who kind of shun you and say, no, I don't want, these people really freak me out.
Yeah, I mean, not to go on a too much of a deep note, but I think that's an interesting point. I mean, you're talking about people loving themselves. This is just. It's so timely right now what we're doing even with the gay youth suicides that certainly have been publicized. That's been happening for years, as we all know.
Years.
And what's interesting is queer people have known that it's been happening for years, but all of a sudden now it gets all this attention, and it's almost like our responses are almost more responding to straight people being like, oh, we do care, when it's like, really? Like, we've had homeless youth on the streets for generations, and queer people have walked on by them. You know what I mean? And not everyone, of course. I'm not going to generalize everyone into one lump sum, but I mean, if we're talking about a lot of the people with power in the queer community, these are not issues that we're taking on. And so all of a sudden now the suicide thing's happening. We're talking and say youth suicide. It's not youth suicide. It's, first of all, it's young men who are killing themselves. And it's young, effeminate gay men, or gay men who are outside the box, right? Gay men who probably would
they are
be called
marked
faggot.
as gay. That's right.
Yeah. Who would be called faggot, who have to at some point own that piece of themselves,
Yes.
accept themselves, love themselves, or they don't. And so I think that we're at a place right now where this series is just so important to really show that there are so many ways to be proud and out in who you are.
I want to play a clip, and then we'll come back and we'll have like a minute or two
Okay.
to chat about it. You really get at a lot of people who just break from this kind of this kind of idea that's out there of what the agenda is, right? And what
Well, you had to
being
defend
queer
yourself with what the agenda is, didn't you?
is. That's why as soon as I saw this, I said, these guys got to come on the show.
Because we're with you. We agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, the thing is that we have multiple agendas, right? And I think when you start to get anyone telling you this is what you should care about and this is what you shouldn't care about and this is who you should be and this is who you shouldn't be, that's when we really should be questioning where we're heading.
Absolutely. Well, I want to wish you a lot of luck
Thank
with this
you.
tonight. The
Thank
big
you.
premiere at the
Thanks.
Mix Festival. For those of you in New York City, the Mix Festival is at...
We could actually give
Theater
away
for the new city. Yeah, we
Mike,
have to.
We could give
Oh.
away a pair of tickets. If
we have
want.
2 tickets.
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we throw out a question next hour
Okay.
about something we all just talked about? And the first person with the correct answer will get the tickets.
Get
I
the pair of
love it.
tickets.
And of course, online at 50faggots.com. People can watch the first episode, right?
Exactly.
And then you're going to drip.
Well, we have, and I'm so excited. We have actually our second episode. Our premiere date is going to be at the Mobile Tech Conference, which is basically the Midwest Queer Collegiate Conference, which brings over 3,000 young people to it. It's at the very last weekend of February, actually Friday, February 25th. We're premiering it to a packed house of queer college students from across the Midwest. So that's amazing. You know what I mean? Like to have that type of impact and we're just growing. So I feel like there's a lot more that you're going to see of us.
That's exciting. Well, I want to thank you all for coming in today. Randall Jenson, director and producer of 50 Faggots. How gay do you want to be today? Aaron Gray and
Timur Tugberk.
there you go. Okay. Thank you so much. You guys are great. It's 5 minutes before the air.
The Michelangelo Signorile Show.